Hey guys out there in real estate marketing show land. I hope everything is doing fantastic. We're doing amazing here in the studio. Welcome to episode number 37.
Yeah.
I have next to me Julie as always. How are you doing, Julie?
So good. I'm so excited for
Yeah.
today.
Today's going to be an amazing podcast. So we on episode number 36 we spoke with Jesse Zagorski about systems and process for following up on leads, right?
Yep.
Today, we have David Tal from Agentology on our podcast, and I want to welcome you to the show, David. And seriously, first of all, thank you so much. I know you had to rearrange your day to do this, and it means the world to us. And thank you for hanging out with us in Anaheim at BSM and educating all of us. And so, what I want to do is I want to tell the world right now, you are the owner of Agentology. And if you don't know, if you're a team leader, you need to know. If you're a team agent, you need to know. Give us a brief look into the company in 30 seconds or less about what you do, and then I'll get a little more in depth as we go through this.
Sure. So my 30-second pitch, if you will, is, real estate agents, you're buying a lot of leads online from Zillow and generating them on your website and all sorts of different places. But in the world of internet leads, the number one thing that consumers need is that instant response and instant gratification and all of the follow-up that is necessary to really make the most of those leads. So we understand agents cannot be slaves to their phones 24/7. You're out, you're busy, you're producing, and we want to be your ISA team, and basically help you engage all of your leads for you, do the follow-up necessary, filter out all of the kind of the junk that's not going to go anywhere, and set you up with appointments and phone calls with the most motivated prospects.
That was so perfect.
So
So I know you guys listening out there, and we talked on the last episode on in this day and age, the market has changed dramatically, and I know you've been in the business for over 10 years, and knowing where the business is today, it's all about either being on a team or building a team. And buying leads to be successful in this particular industry, or let's just say producing internet leads, you have to do it to even have a chance in this type of a market, in this type of future of real estate. I mean, our industry it's not changing, it has changed. So as a team leader, who I am, sitting here, with roughly 12 people on my team, a few thousand leads in a database, and a few hundred, if not 400, coming in every month. As a team leader, hearing what you just said was heaven. Hold on, wait a minute. You're going to call the leads immediately. You're going to set our appointments. Oh my God, you're going to follow up when my agents can't or won't. Holy moly. Now, I know it sounds too good to be true out there, but it is, right? And Julie's sitting next to me, so David runs a sync team as well for our brokerage, and she knows like every other team
that you
leader,
need this.
we know the pain. So I'm going to do a super be honest. Since I met you through the end of this podcast, I'm interviewing for the job of my ISA. So if you guys don't know what an ISA is, it's an inside sales agent that is supposed to set these appointments for the people. So it sounds absolutely amazing, and we have a small list of questions that I think we should go through. And I know you're on stage all over the country, and I know you're on interviews and podcasts and talking to agents all the time. So I'm going to rely on you to help me take us through as an audience and since you felt our pain and you told me a story in Anaheim briefly, I was a team leader. I saw what happened. Can you give us a little bit of a background glimpse of how in the world Agentology was developed and at the same time train us on, how the process should work?
Yeah, so we've all seen the shift. If you've been in real estate for more than 10 years, you've seen the massive shift in consumer behavior. 15 years ago, you would meet a consumer that would walk into your office, and immediately you had that human connection. You'd,
Yeah.
shake their hand, right? You kind of already had that. They weren't coming in with bad contact info. It was them,
Well,
right?
you guys were fighting for floor time, right?
Yeah, I remember those days. That was wild.
Exactly. To do floor time. That's how I met most of my, non-family clients.
Right.
Was doing floor time, and Nowadays, those same consumers are online and they're meeting you online through by filling out forms without ever meeting you, without even knowing what you look like, without ever hearing your voice. And that technology has been great to empower the consumer to do a lot more of this on their own, but it's also really eroded that human connection that used to be made right away. And so what agents really have to do nowadays is to bridge that gap. The consumers used to be offline, right? They would walk into your office. Now they've gone online. Now you have to go to where they are, but bring them back offline. How do you bring them back offline so you can meet them face to face? 72% of buyers and sellers will work with the first agent they meet with face to face. And so you got to go online to where they are, but bring them offline and meet them face to face.
That's
And so
That's the first time I've heard that statistic.
yeah, and I was going to say many people have not heard of that. I think that's a very recent, more updated NAR statistic. Is that where you got that number from?
yeah,
The
that's
70.
NAR.
Yeah, so that's a newer statistic, and it's an amazing one. 7 out of 10 people, if you're not an idiot, will work with you. So
Yeah.
it went to meet you face to face, and that was a newer question that I saw in the survey. I was like, you know what, that's powerful. So that just shows our agents, look, it's still a business that you have to be belly to belly with these people and still bond. I mean, this isn't auction.com where they're just buying stuff they've never seen before. This is their home, and I believe they do want to work with somebody they can believe in and trust. And actually take them through the whole education process of buying a home. So that was a very important number, and thank you for saying that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So part of how this all started was, I was a broker for about 10 years. I had agents. I was, one of the first buyers buying leads on Zillow and Realtor.com, and I was always very kind of tech forward and experimental, was trying all these different online lead services out. We would generate the leads. I would give them to my agents. And then I started following up with my agents, hey, how did it go with this lead I sent you from Zillow or from Realtor.com? And they'd say, oh, I left them a voicemail, but they haven't called me back, so they must just not be interested. Or, oh, yeah, I emailed them, so I'm just waiting for them to email me back, right? Very common. And at the time, it didn't sound unreasonable to me. I was like, yeah, well, they haven't called them back, so they must not be interested. And I started really getting to learn more and more about lead conversion, what's necessary, how you have to treat these leads, going to all sorts of different trainings to understand the statistics behind it all, and started to realize that we were just missing out on a ton of opportunity here. We were doing all the right things to generate the leads, and I had the agents, but I was missing that in between loop. To connect the two. And so our first kind of go at this was, we said, my brother and I were co-founders. We said, let's solve this. But the way we wanted to solve it was, well, let's just be a lead generation company that pre-screens and pre-vets all of the leads first before we ever send them over to an agent. So our approach to it was, none of the lead generation services out there pre-screen their leads. Let's be the first one that does. And so, almost 5 years ago, that's how the business began, is we were our own lead generation service. We would generate leads mainly through Google, PPC, driving people through a landing page that would fill out a form. And then we would engage and call them and text them and try to get a hold of them and qualify them, if you will. And only then we would send only the qualified leads over to our agent. And agents just absolutely loved this. And so about 1.5 years ago, these agents started to say to us, and big teams we worked with, they started to say to us, we love this. We love that we never have to worry about calling a bad phone number or someone who's wondering why I'm calling them, or just completely uninterested, or renting, or an area I don't focus on, whatever the case may be. Every conversation I have, they're already expecting my call. It's kind of a magical experience, as you know, because it doesn't really exist for the most part. So they said, but you're just one small lead source, and I'm only getting about 5 leads a month from you based on your capacity. But I'm getting another 100 or 200 leads a month from my Zillow, my website, my Facebook, my Ylopo. And they said, can I run all of those leads through Agentology as well, so that you guys can vet and screen all of my leads and do this for me for all of my leads? And so that's when we had, as a company, an epiphany and realized, let's not just be one lead source and be selfish about what we do to just one avenue of leads. Let's open this platform up and service all leads and help agents with all of their lead sources. And that is when our business started to kind of take shape to kind of what it is today. And it's allowed us, quite frankly, to learn a lot faster because, we were only maybe doing, a few thousand leads a month from our own. And that's only a few
Only.
thousand leads a month we could kind of learn from, right? What are the best scripts? What are the best responses? Now we're handling over 100,000 new leads a month and growing. And so we now have a much bigger pool that we're learning from. And
Right.
that allows us to change our scripts, to change our cadence, to see what works best, and then allow all of our agent customers to leverage off of those learnings.
So, not to totally interrupt you, but as a team leader, we mastermind. Us from the guys from Club Wealth and Labcoat and all these places, we mastermind every week, and we talk about, hey, what's working? Well, this is my text cadence, or here's my script, and here's the frequency of our calls, and how many this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting here listening to you going, my God, I mean, you guys have a real chance at finding out what works. So in my mind, I'm begging you to tell me, how do you guys sit around a war room and just say, hey, Frank, what scripts how did that work? I mean, and I don't want you to give out all your secrets to the agents. I'm sure there's some stuff that's proprietary. God, I can't talk today. But I mean, really, that's a really fascinating thing, because we sit around in our team and say, hey, how did that work? Try this, try that. Are you guys really sitting around in a room with, how many people saying what? Walk us through that. What does that look like?
Yeah, so we look at data more than opinions and more than emotion. Someone may say, I really think we should say this, and we might say, great, let's try it. But we'll look at the data and realize, well, what created the most engagement back, and what ended with the best result. So we're more data driven and kind of analytical about it. We want to try all sorts of different scripts, best practices, and all of that. But there's so many different. You could look at 10 different best practices, and they're all totally different. So the trick is, how do you blend them all together? So I'll give you an example. We always, from when we started, we used to call first. Right away, we'd call the leads right away. But as you know, most people will not pick up the phone from numbers they don't know. So we'd be trying to call and call and call, and the ones we'd get through to, it was great to get them on the phone right away, certainly. But we were getting very low engagement overall on the whole picture. So we decided, well, what if we texted first? So because that seems to be the trend, everyone prefers to be texted, and we realized, look, 100% of people see the text message you send them, right? And that worked better. So we first switched from calling first to texting first. And then we realized, well, some people still want to be called first, but they're actually not the ones picking up usually, because they're the skeptical ones that don't pick up the phone. So now what we're doing now is we actually combine the two. So what happens now is we want to make sure we get our message to the consumer as quickly as possible. And the quickest way to do that is through text. But what we do is we'll send a text acknowledging their inquiry, establishing who we are, and we introduce ourselves as members of, Mike's team, right? Members of HomeSmart, or client care coordinator for the HomeSmart Laguna Beach office or wherever.
Right.
And on that very first text, we offer to call them. So now they know this is not a bot or some kind of automation. We texted because we know that's what 70% of people prefer. But we offer to give them a call on it. So we say, hey, is it easier for me to give you a quick call? And about 30% of them say, yes, give me a call. And guess what? When we call them a few minutes later, they actually pick up the phone. They're friendly. They're expecting our call. So we're actually blending both at this point.
Wow.
Now, if people don't text us back within a certain amount of time, we do start calling them as well. We obviously are not just going to send one thing out and wait. But we found that the best first engagement is text, offering to call. So the hybrid of both is actually what's converting the right now. And find something that better 2 months from now and adapt.
Okay. So you probably can't tell, but you cut out for a second there. So what was the last sentence? Say that again for us.
I said that, we're always testing. So if in 3-4 months we find something that works even better, we will adapt to that. At the end of the day, we want to do whatever is absolutely going to convert at the highest level. If calling first works better, that's what we'll do.
Gotcha.
If texting and offering the call works better, that's what we're going to do.
So my agents in my office, they'll say, "Look, Mike, I tried them 3 times. They're not calling back. I texted them 4 times. They're not texting back." When should they give up? When, as a team leader, should I say, "You know what? Go ahead, give up"?
So that is a $1 million question, and certain people have all sorts of different opinions. I'll give you the opinion based on data. The data shows that after about 10 attempts, 8 to 8 attempts, I'm sorry, between 8 and 10 attempts is when you will convert 93% of all the qualifiable leads in
Wow.
that group. So basically, the first 10 attempts get you 93% of the way there of what you're going to get out of it. You can make another 10 attempts or another 1,000 attempts. You're only working off trying to get another 7%. So it really depends on where you want to focus your attention. Again, it's not to say, people always say, yeah, well, on the 34th attempt they responded, like, thank God I did. And it's like, I'm not going to disagree with that, but it's just a matter of at what point do you move on.
Right.
We feel that it's best to use human engagement as much as you can in the first 10 attempts, because that's where you're trying to get the majority of people, is in the first 10 attempts. So use as much of a human interaction as you can, because that's what's going to convert the highest. Anything beyond that, I recommend some kind of automation, long-term drip. If it doesn't cost you much, why not, right? And that's kind of up to you how much you want to go about it. Just be careful that you don't start getting marked as spam. If you go 50 attempts, maybe that's a
Right.
little overkill, and you might start getting marked as spam, and then some of your other customers on day one, they're not seeing your messages all of a sudden either. So you got to be careful.
Is an attempt, a text, a call, an email?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it could be two, 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 and that's
yeah.
8 attempts.
Yeah, and we definitely recommend making, at least 4 to 5 attempts just in the first 24 hours, using a combination of text, call, and email.
So,
Uh,
so you guys have to listen to that out there, and especially my team. You have to make 5 attempts within 24 hours. That's a lot of attempts.
But personal ones too,
Yeah.
because that's what Jesse and we had talked about in the last one, was taking that threat away.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, most people say, I don't want to bug them. So 2 or 3 times, but 5 attempts, in 24 hours. That's a big number, and that is, I try to tell people, look, one person's changing a diaper, one person's on the phone with grandma, one person is in a fight with their spouse, and then finally you catch them flipping through channels of nothing, and that's when they might respond. And I'm like, dude, people have lives. They're not all just sitting there going, should I pick up this phone from this real estate agent? People have lives, and that's why it's so crucial for us as a team right here to get this through to all the agents and team leaders. 5 attempts in 24 hours. Thank you for saying that.
And you also have 3 different ways that you can do it. So if you're
Absolutely.
texting, you're emailing, and you're calling, why is that hard?
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to figure out which way they like to communicate.
yeah, and then depending on your market and the demographics, you'll see what ratio of people prefer to text versus call. There's statistics that show that millennials actually get really annoyed when you call them.
Yeah.
They much rather text, and if they want to call, they'll tell you on text, call me, but they hate it when you just kind of call. They hate it when their mom calls.
It's like, I was going to say, mom, evasion
Yeah.
of their privacy. There's
So-
kids on my kids' football team that my son says, yeah, if their parents call to see what they're doing, they get mad. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
No,
It's so funny.
It's extremely true. It's funny, and 10 years ago, they would almost get annoyed when you texted. It was kind of like, oh, what, you can't pick up the phone and call me? Attitudes change, consumer behavior changes. That is why nothing that we're doing here or that agents out there are doing should be static in the what is from now on. It should continue to adapt and to continue to change. At some point, and we're starting to test some of this stuff, is they might like getting a message on Facebook from you to get that instant validation of who you are, any connected friends, things like that. You have to keep adapting to the customer and finding them where they're hanging out.
And that's interesting you say that. When do you find that people like to engage with you, or when do the leads come in? Is it during business hours? Is it after hours? That's important to the agents too, because a lot of agents start working at the crack of dawn. They're exhausted by 5. How many hours do they have to stay awake after business hours to answer the phones? I mean, when do the leads come in?
So this is another interesting thing that's been a big shift, right? People used to walk into your office between 9 and 5, and you had their full attention, right? Now they're filling out a form maybe during 9 to 5, which is most of them. I'll give you some stats on that too.
Right.
But even when you get a form at 3 p.m., they're likely at work. They're likely distracted. They're picking up their kids from school. They're definitely not just sitting around saying, "And now I will communicate with a real estate agent." Let's just wait for them to call me back, and I'm just going to wait around, and they're going to have my undivided attention. So that's why texting works really well, because you can actually text them, get your message to them. They see it, it's on their mind, and they could text you back on their schedule. They could text you back 30 minutes later. It's okay. They actually like that, as opposed to you pressuring them with, "Can you talk now? Can you talk now? Can you talk now?" That tends to turn people off, and they start going, "You know what? I'm kind of early on in my search. Just never mind. Stop bothering me." That happens a ton, and it's unfortunate, because these are people who 30 minutes before were open to giving their info publicly, online, and to be contacted, and they were kind of pushed away. It's kind of like when you go into a suit store. I don't know much about this because I never wear suits, but when you go, I don't even know if they're called suit stores, but when you go into a suit store,
Sure they
and I start pressuring you, "Well, do you want it this way? Do you want the pins this way, that way?" And you're just like, "Let me just look," you don't want that high pressure. So it's similar. So 25% of leads come in after hours.
25.
25%. I know that sounds perfectly rounded, but that's Zillow statistic, and ours is like 24.7. It's extremely similar.
So that's 25% of your business. That's a big number.
Yeah, and they come in after hours, and that's also because, look, that's when people are getting off of work. They put the kids to bed. They're lying in bed with their spouse, by themselves, with their dog. That's when they're looking at stuff online, and are comfortable, and are actually probably way more focused than they were during the day. What's cool is they rarely expect a response at 9 p.m., right, or 10 p.m. But when we respond to them and we say, "Hey, I know it's late, but I'm available to chat if you'd like to, and if not, let me know what time in the morning work," they're super impressed.
So Agentology will call somebody at 9 o'clock at night.
So we after hours, because of laws, we only text first. And now if they ask us to call them, like we do with our text, we offer to call them, then we will call them, happily. And we do it at 3 a.m. Even at 3 a.m. we've had conversations.
That's another good reason to use them. They know the laws. I didn't know there was laws saying you can't call people. Wow.
Yeah, you can't call people, and every state is different, and you can't call people mainly after 8 p.m. is kind of the rule of thumb, and
Really?
before, I want to say 7 a.m. their local time, right? So you can't call them, or it's considered, some kind of naughty thing to do. But
Naughty.
you have to charge by the minute or something if you call that late. But it is still critical to actually still try to engage them, even if at 2 a.m. they submit that inquiry, to engage them right then and there. People have different schedules. People work graveyard shifts. Not everyone is a 9 to 5er. And it's important to understand that the consumer of today is around the clock and weekend.
So you guys are seriously sitting there at those hours waiting for our leads as agents to come into you?
Absolutely. We staff fewer people in those hours.
Right.
We kind of have maximum amount of people are coming in throughout the day. We staff kind of like a 24-hour diner, right? When you're gonna have the most clientele during the day, and that's when you need the most staff. And then, you have less staff at night to keep it efficient. But we have people here. I don't know if you could see behind me there.
Oh yeah.
But we have, we're over 100 people now, and we are 24/7. You can come visit us at 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. here at our San Diego office, and there'll
Right
be
after the club.
coffee and.
And I feel like that person's probably really successful. If somebody's calling or online at 3 and they're looking and then they do get a text, they just want to talk.
They probably need to.
Do really well.
So I want to hear your script, because at the last conference we were at, there was a lot of people talking about, and in our mastermind, third-party ISAs. And half the agents, the room is split up, but no, it's so much harder to have a stranger call than not be able to bond and then pass them off. And I heard the arguments from both sides. Now, you statistically, data dude, know these numbers and the script to tell these people? What do you say to an agent, possibly a good, powerful agent that says that? What would your argument be against that objection?
Well, first of all, it's a fair point. I'll be the first to say that's a fair point. However, we really definitely we think that when a lead fills out a form and then they're contacted almost instantly from that agent's team by their client care coordinator, aka us, that just makes them look more professional, makes them look better, makes them look responsive, which is the number one thing consumers want, is responsiveness. And it shows that we have a process and a team, which actually today makes consumers feel far more comfortable with you, as opposed to them thinking you're just like the only one that's going to help them there. When they know you have an actual team, they're far more comfortable with it. They feel like you have a real business. You're not just some random guy that's going to help them out. So we get very positive response. Also, leads tend to lower their guard with us because they know we're not the pushy sales guy that's trying to get them to write an offer tomorrow.
So you tell them that you're a staff member and not a real estate agent.
Yeah, we introduce ourselves as client care coordinators, right, or assistants. You can actually tell us how you want us to introduce ourselves. We usually say assistant or client care coordinator with the blank 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 team.
Okay.
Right? They never hear the word agentology, and so they tend to open up to us a lot more. We gather a lot of that info, and we're able to hand that off and schedule an appointment. And they just tend to take that far more serious. What happens a lot with agents who are buying a lot of leads is, first of all, you cannot respond to leads within 5 minutes. If you can, you're not that busy. And you're getting really lucky that all of your leads are coming when you're not at lunch, when you're not in the bathroom, when you're not in the shower, when you're not sleeping. Like, it's just unrealistic. And so I think it's far better to respond to 100% of your leads humanly, within minutes, 24/7, than a fraction of them when you can take them yourself because you just want to speak to them first. Right. The way it works today with everything is you walk into any kind of a store or service, you have like a greeter who's there to kind of make you feel welcome, who guides you in the right direction of where to go. You're going to find that over there, or great, the doctor is available on Tuesday. If the doctor picked up, you'd feel a little less comfortable going to that doctor, wouldn't you, when you called to schedule an appointment and he's like, oh, this is Dr. Bob,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's real, and that's a real life story that I have, and I teach all the time to my agents. So trust me, I've been through that story. All right, so I want to take you off track just a tad more. So let's say it's 10:30 at night. You're working with Team Bjorkman. One of your staff members gets a lead. How does that lead get to you? And then how does that lead get assigned back to my team? How do they know, of the 12 agents I'm working with, who gets that lead when? And how does that system work?
So we have different integrations with CRMs. So with Real Geeks, with Follow Up Boss, and we're now working with a few of the other big CRMs to integrate further with them so that we can keep their routing rules in place. Right? If we could funnel a lead back into Follow Up Boss, and then Follow Up Boss has the routing rules already built into it, even better. We are at the same time starting to work on some of our own kind of routing functionality, but we don't want to be another CRM, right? We really want to work with all of the CRMs and be a layer that helps qualify and convert all of the leads going into the CRM, so that your CRM is useful and isn't just full of all the junk leads blended with the good ones, which you eventually lose track of, and then you don't even know how to use your CRM. This is the kind of what always happens to agents, happened to me. So we want to be that filter that processes all of that for you and buckets it in the right place in your CRM to keep it clean, to keep it effective, and to create actionable triggers for your team to go and take it from there. Now, when we qualify a lead, and I'll just say a couple things about the qualification process, we receive the leads in real time. So if you have leads coming in from your realtor.com and they're coming in either directly to you or through your CRM, either way, we're going to integrate with you and set that up so that we receive it instantly as well. When we receive it, our ISAs will jump right on it, start to try to make attempts. As soon as we get a hold of that person, what we're trying to do is not just to qualify, but to enhance the lead. So usually the lead comes in with very basic contact information like just kind of their name, number, email, and maybe a property they were inquiring about, right? What we're trying to do is gather far more information. Like, that's all great, but and what's your time frame for buying or selling? Have you been pre-approved for a mortgage? What other neighborhoods are important to you, et cetera? And a part of this strategy is to build trust. It's really important that we ask more questions than they submitted. The reason is we want to show them, and we authentically do care. We want to show them that we care, that we want to understand who they are, not just here's your name and number and how am I going to make money off of you, but who are you? What are you looking for? What are your motivations? Because we really care and we want to cater our solution and the homes we find for you to that. When we qualify a lead, we send that all the other information that we gathered in an email. We also text you, but in the email, you see all of the information we gathered. Our ISA will actually write a little summary paragraph of their conversation to put it more into context. So they'll say, yeah, here are the stats, right, or the data points. They're looking for X, Y, and Z in this zip code. They're looking in the next 3 to 6 months, etc. But here's the deal. They have a daughter that has this problem. She needs to be by this school and blah, 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 blah. So that when we really try to empathize so that when you take it from there, you have much more information on who this person is, what specific things are going to be more important to them. And when you reach out to call them at the time that they requested, it is a warm and fuzzy conversation. They already feel like you've been taking good care of them. They've already been impressed with your quick response. And now you have context to continue that conversation and do what you do best, which is help those people who are motivated and need you now. We want to make sure that those are the only people you're working with, not chasing after these other leads that most of them, frankly, won't go anywhere. We want to filter those out for you so you can focus on, really sift through and find the gold.
It's awesome.
So with all the companies that you're working with right now and you're getting leads from, who's the best performer?
So we work with all of the different lead sources, CRMs. The highest converting lead source is Realtor.com, followed closely by Zillow. And I'll just say a thing or two about that because I get asked that question quite frequently. And yes, Realtor.com and Zillow are the highest converting sources that we work with. About 45 to 50% of the leads that we get from Zillow and Realtor.com are qualified. To us, the definition of qualified is a lead that we're actually able to get in touch with and have a conversation with, and they expressed interest in talking further and meeting with the agent, okay? Doesn't mean they're buying 100% of the time. It just means it's really them, their info. They're interested, they spoke to us, they give us some more info, right? That's a qualified lead. So Zillow and Realtor have the most qualified lead as a percentage. However, it is extremely important to factor in cost per lead as well. And the way we tell agents to really look at their business is based on a cost per qualified lead basis. So I'll give you just a quick example of what I mean by this. So if Realtor.com leads are $50 each, and 1 in every 2 convert, right, at a 50% qualified rate, then your cost per qualified lead on Realtor.com is $100. You with me?
Yep.
Now, if you have a different lead source where the leads are only $10, but only 1 in 10 are good, right? It's still costing you $100 per qualified lead. It is just as good of a source, even though the qualified rate is far lower. So it's really important to look at both. Facebook lead ads are a great source of leads. They have lower qualified rates in general because they're a little easy to fill out. People just click, and they filled it out. So the intention can be a little lower, but they're also cheaper. So when you factor both in, you start to get a really good kind of economic understanding of what leads are worth to you.
Well, and that just makes sense, too, of the site that you're going to. If you're going to go to Realtor.com, it's because you're ready to roll.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. I swear, I'm trying to keep up with all this. I mean, I can imagine your day how stressful it is trying to stay relevant in the industry and say what is going on, what's working, what's not working. I mean, as a leader of your company, I'm sure you have to be like all day, every day, talking to people, trying to figure out what's working the best and how to continue to build and build and build. If you were an agent or a team leader today, and you had to pick, a plan. You're starting next Monday, and you had just a week to put it together. What would you put together? What kind of arsenal of lead generating tools would you put together? Would it be Commission Sync, Ylopo, Boomtown, Tiger Leads? What would you like say? I would do mix in this, that, or that, or I just go for that.
Sure. So I would, and it really depends on your budget. Um,
Let's say 10 grand.
okay, good. So I was going to say you don't want to really invest in the big portals like Zillow and Realtor.com unless you can spend at least a few $1,000s a month on it. You're just not going to get high volume of leads compared to a Sync or a Boomtown, right? Um, and but their quality is much higher. So I really think it's kind of like investing in stock. You have to diversify. So I think it's really important to put a big percentage, possibly as much as 50% of your spend on the best portals that convert at the highest rate. And then I like Zillow and Realtor.com. And then I would put the other 50% on kind of IDX driven leads that are going to be closer to $5 to $15 per lead that you can get a higher volume of. And the reason for that is first, you want to test a few things out because every single market is different. If I give you advice based on what's working here in San Diego for agents I know in San Diego, it might be completely different than what works for you where you're at and we're on the East Coast. So it's important to kind of test all waters and track it. Very important to track it. Once you see what's working, start to divert more of the funds to that source, right? It's kind of like A/B testing it. So I think it's good to get kind of high quality versus high volume and see in your market what works best. And then I would certainly combine it with a lead qualification company. And that's not being self-serving. Use us, use one of our competitors, use whoever you want, but you should because it's really important that you understand them from a normalized perspective. If every different agent you give them to has different cadences, you're never going to get a true understanding of how your leads are performing on average. You might get false positives from one agent who's just a real good converter with X source because he's just on it, but the other guy you give leads to sucks, and you might disqualify that source from your future considerations. And really what you want to do is kind of have a very similar process, at least for the first couple of months, to really understand, hey, with very similar process, cadence, same amount of attempts per lead from all these different channels, what is giving me the best result? So it's important to kind of standardize.
All right, so we covered a lot. Is there any couple things that you can think of that we didn't talk about that the team leaders or the team agents need to know? Like, hey, here's what I've learned in the last 90 days. This is the trend. This is what's going on. You got to be really careful with this. This is what's really like top of your mind right now for real estate agents that they really need to focus on or worry about or what's going on out there.
Sure. A couple things that come to mind. One is that the consumers that you're meeting online are not as late in the journey as they used to be when they walked into an office. They were much more serious at that point, kind of ready to start looking the next day, right? Now, these people are finding information online. You're teasing them with your ads online, trying to get them to fill a form out, pressuring them to. So their intent is, it's not that it's lower, it's just earlier, if you will. So, they're not buying, most of them are not buying in the next 1 to 2 months. They're closer to 6 months and possibly longer. And so it's important not to be discouraged by that, but to really have a long-term strategy about it. Look at this as, hey, I'm investing today in, I'm going to get some deals in the next few months from it, but really, I'm going to build up a powerhouse pipeline for my next year and a half. That's what I'm really trying to build. And they have to really look at it that way. Don't be so short-sighted about it. Because a lot of people will qualify leads that tell us they got on the phone with us, they gave us all their info, much more details about who they are, and they said, but I'm not buying for probably 6 to 12 months. And we would get responses from agents saying, well, they're not qualified, just throw those out. And it's just baffling to me because these people, but you'd be amazed. It's an extremely, they just want the kind of like, who can I go show homes this weekend to mentality. And I see it a lot. And so it's important to develop a longer term drip strategy that, quite frankly, we really feel that the agent is best suited to perform, not a company like us, because that is the point. After we do that kind of initial handoff, even if they're 12 months away, that's the moment for you to put them on your MLS, on your IDX, to start to drip them actual properties, and to follow up with them even once a month, just saying, hey, I got a list of open houses this weekend. If you're interested, I'll send them to you. You know, you have to offer them something of value locally and targeted, ongoing, so that they think of you 5 months down the road when they're actually ready. And I highly recommend, this is my next point, I highly recommend friending people on Facebook. When you get a lead and you've had a quick conversation with them, and I know I don't have to tell you guys, but because you guys have mastered a lot of this. But when you get a contact, when you get a lead, and you have a conversation with them, friend them on Facebook. They will friend you back. Start to like some of their posts. Start to comment casually here and there. Genuinely, and be authentic about it. And if you're not going to be authentic, just don't do it. And the more that you message them or comment or like their posts, the more the Facebook algorithm will favor your posts in their feed.
Right.
And they'll start to be reminded of you and see you as a human being, right? Not as some guy that I spoke to months ago and who cares. They almost feel that connection, almost like some kind of a loyalty, because they know what you look like and they've seen pictures of you with your family or whatever the case may be. It is extremely impactful to use Facebook as a new nurture solution, if you will, beyond just email.
Beyond great idea. I mean, everybody listening, that's just a pure must. All right, I'm going to let you off the hook in a couple minutes, but I'm going to give you a chance to give us the difference. Like, everybody calls me every day from a company like yours. Why would I use Agentology versus any of the others? What are the extra value adds? Is there anything that you guys do above and beyond different than just setting appointments? Is there any other agent training, or is there, masterminds or webinar? What's out there, and why would a team leader listening go, man, I think I'm almost sold, but what is the last remaining USP, or what have I not heard yet about this company that would make me actually pull the trigger?
Sure, and I'll give you a couple of those, and then I'll also share a link that anyone listening can use to get on a free trial with us. So if they're still on the fence after some of these points, they want to try it out, I'll share a link here that they can use to do a 30-day free trial with us and see how it works for them. And we're month to month, so we're easy to work with.
So,
but
hold on. Did you guys hear that?
That
A
was a big
30-day
one.
trial. How many leads does that include for 30 days?
It's basically up to 50 leads on the trial. And then if you kind of reach the 50 lead limit, you can decide to kind of move forward with one of our plans. Our plans are basically anywhere from $4 to $6 per lead. So pretty cost effective. And let me just see here real quick. I want to see if I can get that link ready. Avi, can you find me that link for the free trial in the meantime while I tell them about this?
Yep. Give us the points while you do that.
Just a generic free trial link that I can share. So a couple of the points. We are highly focused on quality. So, other services out there, outsource to the Philippines and to other areas, and not to knock on the Philippines, but our people are right here, right behind us, and we're constantly training them and we're constantly coaching them. And we have a culture, we have a true culture of coaching and training, constantly role playing. So our ISAs are world class. They're the best in the business. If you took any one of these ISAs and poached them and they came into your office, they would be the best ISA you ever had.
Can you give me a list?
Influence, they're learning from other ISAs. And no, I won't let you poach them.
I'm coming down there. I already told you.
No, but
I'm going to make it rain in that room.
that's one really, really, really important thing. And yes, we could save money as a company by outsourcing it to the Philippines, but we feel that it would be a huge disservice to our agents who are spending far more money to generate the leads. So we feel it is in their interest for us to have the best ISAs to convert those leads. So that's one. Secondly, there are services out there that mainly call or mainly text. We text, call, and email. And as far as I know, I think we're one of the only ones that do all of that, and 24/7. Right. Very few people also do 24/7. Lastly, and there's a lot of differences, but we have a lot of data insights that we share with you as agents, where you start to understand your own lead sources better, so you can navigate those waters on your own ongoing and start to decide where to best spend your marketing dollars. one of the coolest things about Agentology, which I haven't mentioned, is we have a built-in referral network. So you're always going to get leads that you just don't want. I don't care how well we qualified them. The price point's too low for you, what you focus on, it's a little too far away from where you like to travel to, whatever the case is, there's always leads you just don't want. And instead of just ignoring them, which I'm sure is what's going on, we give you the ability with the click of a button, when we qualify a lead and you don't want it, you just go, refer it for me. We then refer it to one of our trusted agents in our network for a 35% referral fee. We track it all the way through the close of escrow. We have a whole escrow department at Agentology that does this. We track it all the way through the close of escrow. At the close of escrow, they pay Agentology a 35% referral fee. We keep 10 and we give you 25. The idea, and we're licensed as a brokerage to be able to do this. So what this allows you to do is to monetize and make a 25% referral fee on all of the leads that you don't want.
Very cool.
And by being an agent with us, you're also now in the network, and now we can also send you referrals from other agents.
Awesome. Man, I'm sure I'm impressed, and I really appreciate it. Let's hear about that link. And I want to caution you, when you use this link, make sure your guys can handle it, because once this podcast is released, you're going to blow up.
For sure.
We've had these problems in the past. So be careful giving out this link.
Yeah, let me just grab that here.
Well, and the biggest takeaway that I really had to
So go to agentology.com/trial30.
Perfect. Agentology.com/trial30.
Yes.
Got it.
I like that it really feels like you guys are diversifying somebody's business, that you can actually get them qualified leads to follow through right now and buy, and then even kind of nurture them further down the line.
Right. I mean, here's I guess if we're doing takeaways, my takeaway is, as a team leader, if you're going to spend $25 or more on a lead, what's another $4 to $6 to make sure it's being handled properly? I mean, the ROI has to be ridiculously good, and I can't wait to hang up and try my link for my free 30-day trial.
You would definitely spend $6 just on that lead that came through at 3 in the morning.
Hell yeah. But, also everybody out there listening, I had the wonderful opportunity to sit with David and have dinner the other night and hear about the future of what Agentology is doing. And I don't want to say it online to tip off the competition, but some of the stuff they're doing, I was pretty impressed with, and I haven't stopped thinking about it in the last week or so since we got together. So I can't wait to have you back and help our listeners and team know about what you guys are doing. And I give you kudos for staying ahead of the game, staying ahead of technology, and really competing in your space and truly helping out agents. You could tell when there's companies out there that are looking to take away from agents and not give, and this is definitely a give scenario, and we appreciate that as real estate agents. Thank you
for having this platform with your podcast and your and what you do to also share a lot of this knowledge with everybody else. So it's all about giving. So thank you for providing the platform as well.
All right. Any final words, David?
Treat every day like it's day one.
Love that.
Bam. Perfect. Any final words, Julie?
No, I just absolutely love that one. That was awesome.
Steal that one.
I'm going to steal that one.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate you, and we're here for you if you ever need anything. And I'll call you soon, and let's hook up.
Thank you, and come visit us soon.
We will. I promise. All right. Have a good one.
Thank you, guys.
All right, everybody. Bye. We'll see you on episode 38. Please rate us 5-star if you love this, and share with agents and brokers nationally across the country. We love getting referrals from agents all over this beautiful country, and we appreciate them, and we work hard for them. So you guys, thank you, Julie, for being on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everybody, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.